I still haven't figured out how to start these videos without being so terribly awkward. I'm Katie if you're new, and if you're not new, I am also still Katie. Today we are talking about the overwhelming loneliness of living in your 20s. I feel like people's 20s before now was already hard enough because it's the time when you're becoming a proper adult and you're not at school for like 8 hours a day surrounded by people your own age. And also the people you know all seem to be getting married or having kids. And then on top of that, you add in like this generation's social media thing, where most of our interactions are taking place not in person, which definitely does not feel as person-y. That was a really well constructed sentence. And then, more on top of that, the world decided to throw in a little bit of quarantining and self-isolation just to make it more fun. So this specific generation of people in their 20s is just like a big stew of disconnection. And you might feel like everyone except you seems to have all of these great close personal relationships. And you kind of feel a bit disconnected from everyone. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just me. Either way, let's talk about it and how to feel a bit less lonely in your 20s. Oh, I'm just remembering my friend, every time I say the word 20, makes fun of me for my accent because I don't say the T. I don't say 20. I say like 20. So Kaylee, if you're watching this, please be kind to me. First of all, I feel like I have to make some sort of clear distinction between being alone and feeling lonely, because there's such a huge difference between feeling like you just don't have people around you and feeling like there are people around you but that you're not connecting with them, not feeling understood, or like you can't share things with them. Both of these suck, but I feel like there's some sort of like specific deep sadness of feeling like you can't connect when you're surrounded by a bunch of people. I feel like it's so easy for this to make you feel like there's something wrong with you specifically, or like no one will ever love you and want to be around you. God, I really wish there was a way of saying all this stuff without making it sound so sad. Anyway, so the first thing I guess would be to stop surrounding yourself with people for the sake of being around people. It's like quality over quantity every time, you know? It's so much better to spend time with like one or two friends who always leave you feeling positive, as opposed to spending time with hundreds and hundreds of people who always leave you feeling kind of sad and disconnected and misunderstood. Please understand that spending time with more people won't necessarily make you any less lonely. It ends up being the difference between having 100 shallow conversations about the weather or some gossip versus having one or two really meaningful conversations about things that really matter. And I feel like when you have those kind of conversations, it makes you feel a bit more alive, you know? And this leads me into my next point about overcoming loneliness, which is to have more conversations that matter. So conversations that go beneath the surface level and maybe sometimes might feel a bit vulnerable, but also feel like they actually mean something. Like, you know, the kind of conversations that you have with people when it's 3 a.m. and you've been drinking and everything seems so easy to talk about? Try having those kind of conversations sober and during the daylight hours, which for some reason makes it so much scarier. And this doesn't have to be super personal, uncomfortable stuff to talk about. Like, I'm not telling you to go out and trauma dump on all your friends every day. I mean, you could just do something like have a little existential crisis with someone and go from there. My absolute favourite question for talking about something that you wouldn't normally talk about is, what is the one thing that you really want to talk about but that never gets brought up in conversations? Actually, if you want to, or even if you don't want to, I think it would be so cool if you went and answered the question in the comments right now. I would love that so much, and I'll definitely read it and have a conversation with you, and it'll be really nice. Also, while you're on your way down to the comments, you might notice a little like button and also a little subscribe button. Maybe you could just press both of those ones for me while you're, you know, heading in that direction anyway. It helps me out when you like my videos. Okay, moving swiftly onwards. Aside from using your interactions with others to reduce your loneliness, it's kind of important to learn to enjoy your own company. You sort of need to figure out how to be your own best friend because you're kind of stuck with yourself for life. So the only other option is permanently living with your enemy. So you need to spend time getting to know yourself and finding things that you like doing by yourself the same way you would with other people. So go out and find something that you can do by yourself that feels good. And here I don't mean watching TV or finding some other way to just numb the feeling of loneliness. Find something meaningful, you know, find something that's actively enjoyable to you. You gotta develop some identity capital to know yourself as a person more. So get a hobby, join a club, learn to bake yummy little treats, bring the yummy little treats to my house, give them to me. Just find something that feels good and feels fun and that you can do regularly on your own. Also, I feel like here's maybe a good point to mention that I did a whole video on like what to do when you feel like you don't have a personality. So I'll link that one up there. Okay, I'm going to jump again from talking about your relationship with yourself back to your relationship with other people, because obviously your interpersonal relationships are so important for reducing loneliness. And making friends in your 20s, I said it with a T that time, 20s, is so hard. From an outside perspective, I think it's so easy to look at everyone and just believe that they already have their little friendship group and they're not interested at all in forming any kind of new relationships. But this isn't actually true. I think most people to different degrees are also feeling the same sense of like overwhelming loneliness and wanting to form new relationships, but no one really knows how, and no one ever feels really comfortable approaching each other and initiating that. This is one of the weirdest things people do, I think, because we are literally created to have close relationships. Why is it so hard for us? Why do we assume that no one else wants to when it's what we're built for? Pretty much everyone is craving some kind of connection, but for some reason we're all convinced that it's just us. We're the only ones on the outside that want more, and that everyone else would be super bothered if we tried to make some attempt to hang out with them, like feeling like you're imposing on them somehow. I feel like so often people have the same conversation where they've just met someone and they basically say like, it's really nice to meet you, let's hang out sometime. And then they never do because they just assume that it was being polite. But what if instead of putting all the people you meet into a little storage box and storing it right at the back of your head never to be thought of again, what's actually the harm in asking them if they want to hang out sometime? Pretty much the worst thing they can do is say no. And then the best thing they can do is suddenly become your new best friend. I feel like this is a situation that is very low risk and very high reward. And any economists or crypto bros out there can tell you that that's a good thing. I do feel like finding places to meet people is probably the hardest part of this, because it's not like you're at high school anymore where there are hundreds of people your own age all around you every day. But if you are at uni or college or whatever, talk to the people in your classes. You already know that you have at least one mutual interest, whatever it is you're studying. Ask them how they're doing on the assignment or how their other classes are going. And if you want to use a little psychology hack and trickery, ask them to help you with something. Not something huge, but just like, hey, can I borrow a pen? Or, hey, do you know what day the assignment's due? Because when someone helps you do something, they automatically like you more, because their brain is saying to them, I'm helping this person, which means that I must like them, because why would I help someone that I don't like? I promise that this is real science. Look it up. There's probably a name for it. Other than that, there are other places you can meet people. Join a club or a sports team or a cooking class or a meditation class, something that you're interested in, because then you're building friendships off of a shared interest that you have with these people, which means that you're not like just meeting a bunch of people with absolutely nothing in common. Also, one thing that I cannot understate how highly I would recommend doing this is volunteering somewhere, especially if you can volunteer somewhere where you're interacting with people who feel really lonely themselves, because this way you're getting that social connection, you're giving someone else that social connection, like a win-win-win-win-win situation. If making new friends is just way too hard, another way that you can get the social interaction is by reaching out to people that you know already and asking them if they want to catch up or hang out sometime. I feel like this is another one of those things where you bump into someone you know and you're like, oh, we should catch up sometime. But then both of you just assume the other person's being polite and they don't actually want to. So maybe be the person that actually says like, let's hang out, when are you free, what do you want to do? Be the one who makes it real instead of just some meaningless statement. Other ways that you can reconnect with people you already know are responding to people's Instagram stories when they say something interesting, sending people happy birthday messages when you know it's their birthday, call your grandma or someone else. Even though you might feel like you're going to annoy people, you're probably not. They're actually probably going to think it's kind of nice that you were thinking of them and that you wanted to reach out. Okay, this video is almost over. It's been fun hanging out. And actually, that's another way to feel less lonely, is to make little YouTube videos. It's kind of nice to talk to a camera and pretend that it's another person. And on the point of social media, impeccable segue, stop comparing your relationships to the relationships that you're seeing on social media or on TV, because it's literally just not the reality of people's actual life experiences. Like, lower your expectations of what a good friendship is and stop basing your expectations on what other people are doing. You get to decide what a good relationship means to you. And that's something that you should decide based on your own feelings and your own beliefs. as opposed to the like perfect image that you're being shown all the time. Okay, finally, last thing is that sometimes it's a good idea to lean into the loneliness. A part of the human experience is having negative emotions sometimes and just letting them happen. Our feelings are there to tell us something. So let yourself feel lonely, cry if you want to, journal about your feelings, lie on the floor and stare at the roof, scream into your pillow, anything. Just let yourself feel whatever you're feeling. But then don't wallow in it. Don't view the fact that you're feeling this loneliness now as indicative of your future. Don't convince yourself that everything's hopeless because of how lonely you feel at the moment. Because it's not hopeless. Your social relationships are one thing that you definitely can change. You get to control your social experience and you get to change how you're interacting with people whenever you want to. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you got something out of it. If you didn't, I'm sorry for wasting your time and you can leave now. If you did like it and you stayed to the end, then hi, I love you and I hope that you're doing very good at the moment. Please leave a comment saying something fun. I'll reply. We'll talk. We'll both feel less lonely because of it. Also, please don't forget to like the video right now and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And that's everything. Okay, love you, bye!